Here we go.
Welcome to Nightlife 24/7.
Are you ready to talk about sex?
No, let's talk about relationships.
Or is it time to talk about dating taboos?
It's on your mind.
So let's talk about it
On Nightlife 24/7.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is now Wednesday. Another week gone. You know what? I'm just chilling here today. I'm your boy Mac. This is Nightlife 24/7. I'm with my girl Sweets.
Jonesin.
Today we got a very, very special show for you. We're going to be covering BDSM. And I got a longtime friend hanging with me, someone who lives that lifestyle, someone who knows that lifestyle, someone who actually breathes that lifestyle. My boy, Sir Licks.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Good to be here, man.
I'm glad to have you.
Yes,
so Licks,
yes,
we've known each other, close to almost 10 years?
More than that.
It's been longer than that?
I mean, yeah, we've known each other since 2001, 2002.
Oh, wow, it's been that long, man.
Yeah.
I'm getting old, man. My memory's slipping. You know what happens when you get
We
old.
were having parties in Tennessee. And,
That's true.
We knew that back then.
Oh, you right. He right.
About 10 years?
Listeners, you have to forgive me. I'm an old man, and some days the memory just slips. Sweets picks at me about that every now and then, but every now and then she overlooks it and lets me slide. That's all good, though. So, BDSM, we're going to talk about that. Now, I know that you are a practitioner. I know that you are a trainer of BDSM. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing BDSM now since 1993.
Jeez, dude, you've been in it.
And for those that don't know what BDSM is, can you elaborate on that?
Well, BDSM is a culture. And BDSM means bondage, discipline,
Right.
dominance, submission, sadism, masochism. Now, when you pull down the whole acronym, there are two D's and the two S's in the middle,
Right.
but each of them is silent.
Got you.
So it's not BD, DS, SS, SM. No, it's BDSM. But the D represents discipline and dominance, and the S represents submission and sadism. So it's actually BD, DS, SM. But it's BDSM. The two D's are silent. Now, BDSM is a culture
Right.
that has 3 subcultures.
I was reading that. On the research I did notice that. So explain a little bit more into that.
Right. You see, the thing is, BDSM is a lifestyle.
Okay.
However, as a lifestyle, you have 3 subcultures in the lifestyle.
Okay.
You can be, because first of all, you have to go into what is the definition of a lifestyle.
Right.
You see, but if you understand the definition of a lifestyle, then you will understand what it all means, because BDSM, you can be involved in BD alone.
Okay.
That's bondage and discipline.
Gotcha.
Without DS or SM, and still
Okay.
be a part of BDSM.
Gotcha.
You can be just involved in DS and not BD or SM and still be in BDSM lifestyle.
Okay.
Or you can be just involved in S&M and not DS or BD and still be in a BDSM lifestyle. You don't have to be all involved in all of these.
See, I didn't know it broke down like that. I really didn't.
It's deeper than that.
I thought personally it was all one thing.
No.
I understood that, I remember when the first time you invited me out to 1763.
Right.
And I was my mouth was open most of the time because I saw women that were, walked around in collars. I saw another one that was in the dog cage. I saw one that was on straddled against a wooden board that was shape of an X,
Right.
And then I remember seeing another one, and she was talking about cutting herself for pain. And I was just sitting there listening and walking around like, okay, I'm lost. I'm totally lost. Right. So I get it now. There's different versions of it.
Yeah, but the thing it's even deeper than that. You see, the thing is, BD is the play aspect of BDSM.
Okay.
S&M is the play aspect of BDSM. DS is the power exchange aspect of BDSM.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by the power exchange?
Okay. You see, power exchange is the daily grind between two people.
Okay.
Power exchange is a process whereby one person, male or female, yields power to somebody else over them.
So in other words, when I meet with my partner or my substantial other, I give them control over everything about me that at that moment. They roll and roar. No?
No. Power exchange is a daily grind. It's not occasional.
Okay.
It's not when you meet that individual.
Okay.
That is where play is.
Gotcha.
Play is occasional.
Gotcha.
You meet someone, you tie them up. Or you meet someone, you spank them.
Okay.
That is play. Those are occasional. Those are not daily things. Those are not things you do every day. Power exchange, someone can live in California and you live in Atlanta and you have a power exchange relationship.
Okay.
Whereby you can control her every move or his every move in California from here. You don't have to even see them. That's power exchange because they have decided that you have earned their trust enough to give you power over them. You have to earn that trust. You don't have to see them. You don't have to touch them.
Is that like that situation? I remember one time, I'll never forget it. We were at a party, me and you, and we were outside talking, and the young lady was calling you before she went to bed to ask you permission to go to bed.
That's right. That was power exchange.
And she was talking to you about going to bed.
That's right.
And I was sitting there looking at you like, why the hell is she asking you if she can go to bed? She could just lay down.
No, she can't. That's not because there's already mind control. You say, I've already controlled her mind. I don't have to see her. We don't have to see each other. And then when she wakes up, she has to call me before 8 o'clock. They'll say, hey, listen, thank you for letting me see this day. And I woke up, da-da-da-da-da, and that's it. I don't have
Wow.
to see her. That is
wow.
power exchange. That is DS.
Wow, that that's deep. All I can say is that deep because I'm sitting here looking at, I did research. I always try to do research on everything that we talk about, and it says here it's about trust.
Yeah.
BDS is similar. The myth is that it's abusive and weird, whips and chains. Actually, it's about trust. When trust trumps the possibility of harm. Yeah. The result can be incredibly intimate and erotic.
That is where you, the dominant, have to earn that trust. You see, what they said there is what I already said. You have to earn that trust.
Wow.
So you see, because DS relationships have nothing to do with love. Love is secondary. Trust is primary. Because there are a lot of husbands and wives that are deeply in love, right?
Right.
They do not trust their partners as far as they can throw them.
Oh, I know that.
This relationship is about trust because you have given someone power over you.
Wow.
Therefore, you not yet control it for that. Let's say, for instance, your dom says, I want you to jump. They put you to the cliff. I said, I want you to jump on this cliff. Jump. You should be able to jump. Because you trust them that they will not harm you. Because probably they already put some mattresses there for you to jump to save you. But you have to trust them because they've already earned that trust. A perfect example, literally, is if you watch a show called You Think You Can Dance.
Okay.
There's a partner that's about 5 feet away.
Right.
And you're dancing here. And then they just fly into your arm 5 feet away because they trust that you will not let them fall.
True.
That's
True.
trust.
Yeah, you're right.
That's to put it in a layman term. Trust. Give you a perfect example. If anybody ever watched the movie Titanic,
Yes.
the most popular part of Titanic is when John and the girl were standing at the tip of the ship.
Right.
With
Right.
Celine Dion's song.
Right.
Right. Now, if you remember how they got there, John was already standing near the tip of the ship when the girl was looking for him because they had had an argument earlier.
Right.
So she came up and he was standing there. She walked up to him a few feet away from him. And then he told her, close your eyes. And he asked her, do you trust me? She said, yes, I trust you. Then close your eyes. But he was only about 3 or 4 feet from the tip of the ship.
Right.
But he said, close your eyes. She closed her eyes. Do you trust me? He said, do you trust me? She said, yes, I trust you. And it was not to do with love. Do you trust me? It's not, do you love me? And she can't walk up to him with her eyes closed. If you remember that part of the movie, with her eyes closed, he guided her to the tip of the ship with her eyes closed. And then he stood behind her and said, open your eyes.
Right, and then held out.
And she did.
Yeah.
The only thing in front of her was the deep blue sea. But she was not afraid. That's trust.
Okay. We're talking about the trust, but isn't that a long-term process?
It is. That's where I'm going with that. Thank you.
For those of you that are tuning in today to Nightlife 24/7, our topic this evening is BDSM. Those who are involved, and a couple of inquisitive questions here. Right now, we're learning a couple of things about the rules, the trust, and there is no love involved.
So, getting back to this, I just want to read this real quick. It's talking about Desade and Saka. I can't say his last name.
Sadism and masochism.
Right. It says back in the days, ancient Greek art depict BDSM. Kama Sutra, 300 AD, taunts erotic spanking, and European references date from 15th century.
Right.
But BDSM flowered during the 18th century when some European brothels began specializing in restraint, flogging, and other punishments that dominant women met out to willing, submissive men.
Right.
See, that blows my mind because I never thought of it historically or historically that it branched. Personally, I knew it because of you.
That's right.
And then I understood and didn't even want to watch 50 Shades of Grey because I knew that wasn't the real deal. In my mind, it wasn't because I had known you. And I seen 2 or 3 of your training sessions were like when we were up at the cabin and stuff.
That's right.
So I knew. I was like, that's not what he showed.
Right.
So this gentleman here says in
But remember, I said earlier before, gender and sex is irrelevant.
Okay.
A dominant woman and a submissive male, or dominant woman, a dominant male and a submissive woman. There's no gender involved.
I've noticed lately there seems to be, because as I was explaining to my partner here, I peruse Craigslist. I do it because I love reading the stuff on there. But there are more and more women that are seeming to become doms.
We will address that.
Okay.
We'll address that. I mean, this is a topic that is broad. You know,
Okay.
because I was talking to a party the other day, and we're talking about negotiations of 104.1
Okay.
on periodically to talk about BDSM.
Okay.
Because of the new guy afternoon show now. The
All
thing
right.
is that it's a topic that's an ongoing. This is not BDSM is not a 45-minute topic.
Right.
It's an ongoing topic because there's so many intangibles of BDSM.
Well, just on that note, we gonna let y'all know that we gonna have Sir Licks back, and I know we're catching everybody because he's got a lot of information. But don't think this is gonna be our last show with him, okay? And when we start videoing shows, which will be soon, maybe we can get him in our room that we're preparing here. We'll get him to do some demonstrations that we can post up there and let y'all guys see what he's talking about. But please continue.
But the thing is, when it comes to BDSM, people, again, going back to the part of trust, right?
Uh-huh.
In every aspect of BDSM, is trust. Everything is about trust.
Okay.
When you allow someone to use a flogger on you, right? It's
Okay.
because you trust that they will not harm you with that flogger.
Gotcha.
You see, everything about BDSM is trust. Love is secondary.
I remember. I got
Lust
that.
is secondary.
Okay.
It's because you trust this individual. But let's go back to the question you asked about a few minutes ago when I was talking about Titanic. You said,
Okay.
but it takes time
Right.
to trust. That is the reason why when you get into a relationship with with an individual, you do not start calling them my dom after 3 weeks.
Okay.
How can they earn your trust in 3 weeks? How
Okay.
can they earn your trust in 1 month? Trust is a process. So before you start calling them, they must have earned your trust. It's not lost. Someone has to have earned your trust. So there has to be a process. That is why in the BDSM, people that really live it, right? There's a process called the process of consideration.
Okay.
The period of consideration is like dating in vanilla world. That's the period of time when people begin to understand one another. That is when your guard is let down. During the period of consideration, right? There's really no dom, no soft. There's no dominance, nothing.
Okay.
The reality is the dom is the one under consideration because the sub is the one that's finding out if they can trust you.
Now, let me interject there. Now, when you have these BDSM companionships, relationships, how do you encounter your subs?
In what do you mean by encounter?
How do you meet them? How do you connect with them? Because it is a different lifestyle.
It's interesting. It's interesting you ask that question. BDSM for a very long time, before early 90s, right? Before early 90s when the internet came on, right? Let's go back before that. Before early 90s when internet not came on, you used to find people through newspaper ads.
Correct.
That's how you used to find people.
Now that I know. That I remember.
That's how you used to find people, because it was hush hush too. The people used to put ad in newspaper, disguise the ad in newspapers. That was before the introduction of internet.
So how about now? How do you encounter subs now?
With internet, the internet is the world community now. It's like having like a block thing. The internet is a small world now.
So do you have profiles?
Yes.
Do you go to like different threads, different groups?
Initially, for a long time, the art.com was the source of people meeting on the internet. Art.com.
Right.
That was it. That was where people were meeting for BDSM. However, now, today, right, FetLife.
And
Your favorite spot, FetLife. She
I'm
lives.
hopping on FetLife.
She loves FetLife.
And for those who are listening, another one, especially for starters and beginners, are BDSMU. It's a good platform, a good profile, threads, lots of information, and lots of very friendly and willing individuals that are transitioning from the vanilla life to a life of a little bit of excitement and adventure.
Right. Now, FetLife is the kink Facebook right now.
Okay.
That's the best way to explain FetLife. FetLife is the kink Facebook.
Gotcha.
Right. And if you get that, when FetLife first come on, my number in FetLife is 5 digits. You know, I'm about 50,000 members. That's because we just came on. Now, membership is in like 4 million. So
Jesus.
I go way back to the beginning of FetLife.
Wow.
Wow. So yeah,
And
I'm
here
5
it
digits.
is. I've only been on FetLife for 2 years.
Wow.
I've been on FetLife since 2008.
I've only been on FetLife about 8 months to 9 months. That's about it.
For those that are listening, another good site to kind of get your feet wet is fling.com.
Right.
Fling.com is really good for a lot of kinkiness, individuals that are
Brother
very
learning
comfortable with what they want, what they know that they need, and what they're looking for. So that's another good site in the internet world to connect with individuals that are into the same things that you're interested in.
Okay,
And
now
another main one is
let me ask
Color
you.
Space.
Color space.
Yeah.
Okay,
It used
but
to be Color Me.
okay.
Then a few years ago, it changed to Color Space.
I keep listening to what you're saying, and I can't lie. This is crazy intriguing to me. So, are there more positions in there? Because I've only known of 3 positions. And I understand what you're saying about the consideration. I always knew there was a dom, I knew there was a sub, and I knew there was a switch. But are there more than just that?
It's a lot more. But keep in mind, there are 3 subcultures
Right.
in BDSM.
Right.
BDSM as a lifestyle is a lifestyle of labels. Everything is about label. And every label has a meaning.
Okay.
Now, there are labels that are synonymous exclusively to play.
Gotcha.
However, they can have crossovers.
Okay.
Dom, sub are directly synonymous with DS, part of
Okay.
that. Top,
Discipline, dominance, or sub.
Then you have a top.
Okay.
You have a bottom.
Okay.
Top and bottom are synonymous with play.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, I have a sub, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's say someone else is a sub that has a dom, right? But that sub and remember, I'm a dom.
Gotcha.
I can have 20 subs, doesn't matter, right? I can be a master, and we're going to get there in a second.
Okay.
I'm a dom with a sub, or a master with a slave, and they are a slave with a master, or a sub with a dom. But that sub and I want to engage in bondage and discipline, or
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I'm listening, but I'm just like all into it. Yeah. So
let's say, for instance, the sub and I. Remember, that's someone that's a sub,
right.
and I'm a dom. She's a sub, a submissive to someone. I'm a dom to someone, but we want to engage in S&M activities.
Okay.
S&M, or bondage and discipline activities. At that point, at that moment, I'm not a dom. I'm not her dom. I'm a top now. She's a bottom. You see, our labels, titles just changed because I'm not dominant over her. I'm a top now. And she's the bottom because we are not engaging in S&M and BD. So we are not dominant sub at that point. I'm not dominant in her. Actually, she is in control.
Man, I would be so
Okay.
confused because we switching up titles and names when we
Right.
do something totally different.
Right.
I would be lost.
Well, when I instruct, especially vanilla individuals that are crossing over, I try to keep some of the labels down. That way, people understand, what role you're in according to the activities that you're partaking in, because it can get very overwhelming.
No
We
joke.
get a lot of new individuals that are just more comfortable being a switch until they learn more. And it also depends on whether or not they are engaging with um, a mistress or a master versus a dom. So I
See,
do try to keep it simple because the labels are a little catastrophic for individuals that aren't part of the lifestyle.
okay, all right. Well, I have a question. I have a question because y'all more experienced in this than I am, and probably ever will be. So, how do I become a dom? Am I a sub first that becomes a dom, or you know?
Let's identify the levels.
Okay,
Now, first off, we talk about being the top, being the bottom.
Right.
You see, being the top and the bottom can also be used genetically as someone that is not submissive to anyone. However,
Okay.
when you are a top, right, there are people that just say, I'm a top. Being a top comes with skills.
okay,
There are skills learned that make
Right.
you become a top. For instance, when you learn how to use the flogger, you've seen me use the flogger.
yeah.
Use the flogger or the whip or the paddle.
But I've never
Okay.
seen you do it to where point it was hurting.
No,
I've seen you
that's
where
skills.
right. I mean, I've seen you where you bringing it,
Yeah.
and they're getting certain levels, and it builds and it builds and
from
it
what you've
builds.
seen, no one has ever called red on me. Say,
Right.
Oh, stop. No, because
Right,
it comes
never.
with skills. Now, that skill set, I'm a top, right? To be a dom, right, is who you are. There's a difference. Being a dom is who you are. Being a top is a skill set.
Gotcha.
You see that?
Yeah, now I understand
Right.
the difference.
Being a top is a skill set. But however, in the lifestyle, many people, right, claim the word dom
I noticed that.
when they are not really a dom. Some of them don't even know how to spell dom. But that is because in the lifestyle, recognitions are given quickly to people that say I'm a dom, and not to the top. For instance, I teach this in my class. I have an online class with
Okay.
a curriculum, and I teach. I just talked about with someone today when people are in the lifestyle.
Just to interrupt, you do teach a class, and where can people find that information?
Well, I'm sure.
Well, I have it's an online class with a curriculum, and most of my class is because is a class where I'm giving back to the community.
Okay.
They have to interact with me, and I send them. What I do is I send them the curriculum. I have taught people in my class that I've never met. 90% of my students, past and present, I've never met them.
So how do individuals
What
find
they
this
do,
information? to
what they
find
do
you?
is that I send them the curriculum. They look at the curriculum, which I'm about to send to you guys to look at. I send them the curriculum, and they see my curriculum and say, okay, I want to take this class. Then from that point on, I send them lessons. It's very interactive. Send them lessons. That is dom, sub, bottom, doesn't matter. It's a class for everyone that wants to learn about the lifestyle. We have about 9 levels of class. It's like a classroom. So,
Okay, okay.
It can take a long time. But very quickly, what happens is when you have a top and a bottom, right? And then in between that, because you mentioned about a switch, right? There are people, right, that have the capability, right, to top someone, but also have the capability of being topped. They can flog someone, but they enjoy being flogged. Those people are considered as the sadomasochists. Sadomasochists, meaning they can top someone, they can flog someone, be flogged as well, enjoy being flogged.
Wow.
The problem in the lifestyle, in the BDSM lifestyle, is that when people are switches, they are not taken seriously. They are looked down upon because they are like fair weathers. They are like, you are neither here nor there. So because of that, some people that are switches, they keep that to themselves.
Wow.
You see, so they keep that to themselves. And all of this dates back to the beginning of time. And so you have switches, right?
Okay.
You have switches, you have top, you have bottom, right?
Yeah.
But again, you have masters and slaves as labels.
So is masters and slave higher or lower than dom and sub, or are they right
You
even?
have to be very careful how you use the word higher and lower.
Okay.
Because in the lifestyle, right,
Uh-huh.
there's a perception that a slave is higher than a sub.
Okay.
There's a perception, but that is not true. They are two separate paths.
Two separate entities.
Two separate paths.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? I have a friend who is a sub, experienced sub. She has a husband, right? Who
Uh-huh.
she submits to, right? But she told him, I can never be your slave. Because she doesn't have it in her to get to that point of trust.
Understood.
Anyone. Because when you are a sub, let me give an example. I have a relationship manual.
Okay.
That anybody that's in a relationship with me, they have to have a manual. They have to
Yeah.
read my manual. Like that girl that was calling me, that wants to
Right.
go because it's in my manual. She has to do that. Now, the level of trust.
Okay.
For those of you that are just turning in, we are currently talking about trust in the BDSM community, along with the roles, the titles, and the terminologies that go with them. Check us out.
So the thing is, there's a different trust levels, right? The sub, right? Remember, the sub trusts the dom,
Right.
But the sub, in their pledge to become the submissive of that dom, is saying that I trust you. I am giving you this dom. Remember, there's no love. I am giving you this dom. Partial power, authority,
Okay.
and control
All right.
over me. Partial power, control, and authority over me. Which means that before we embark on this process, we have to go through some guidelines. We have
Okay.
to go through things. That when we not embark on this relationship, if you decide to ask me to do certain things that we did not agree on at the beginning, then we have to talk about it. Because I didn't give you every power over me. I only give you partial power over me. The slave, however, is saying that I have given you absolute, complete authority, power over me. Complete power over me. Which means...
Let me interject there. For my contract for my slaves, you cannot ask me any questions and you do not have an opinion.
So
Okay.
the thing is that, but because it's entered
Alrighty.
into, all of this entered into consensually, right? The slave has two options in that relationship:
Uh-huh.
obey or leave.
All right. So I remember you said this is about complete trust.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's no love. And I understand there's different levels of the things that you do to give them intimacy. But are they allowed?
No.
Are they allowed to have intimacy with
Yes,
the?
you can, but it all depends on how. I have had slaves that I never had sex with one time.
Well, let me interject there. Intimacy is different for everybody.
Right.
Right.
As
Exactly.
in a vanilla relationship, intimacy to me is friendly competition and growth. If you got a vision, I have a vision. When I see that you're, moving to the next level, you're creating things, you're taking on, opportunities, to me, that's a turn on. So just for us having a conversation about that, to me, it's very intimate. But when you go into the BDSM, intimacy could be the simple fact that I can have a whole conversation with you and you not respond at all because you do not have permission to speak back. That's intimate to me.
And then talk about intimacy.
It's a difference for everyone. And when the slave, their level of intimacy, sometimes just humiliation in itself is intimate to them because they're giving you that permission, whereas no one else has that permission.
And then also too, in talking about intimacy, every slave that I have, we must talk every day. But here's the thing. Let's say, for instance, they send me a text and say, "Good morning, sir."
All
right? Before 8 o'clock.
All right.
Right? And because I just went through this with a friend who's going through a relationship, who was asking me, say, "Hey, listen, I'm talking to this guy. What's your process?"
Right.
And so they sent me a text and said, "Good morning, sir," before 8 o'clock in the morning. Could be 5, 4, it doesn't matter. But my manual says that I have to respond to them right away.
Okay.
Right? I respond back to them. So that to them, that's intimacy. That's nothing to do with sex, has nothing with touching, anything. Now, if I do not respond in an hour, they have it in the manual to call me to say, "I sent you a text, you have not responded. What's wrong?" You see, remember I'm the Don.
Right.
But they can call me into that order. I ask because the Sub, it's not about being a slave, slave, right? They have given up power. They have reached deep into them to give me something.
So in other words,
appreciation.
So when they give that up, they're accepting structure from you.
Oh yes, you see,
Yes.
because
Intimate.
you see what the thing is that rules. Listen to this, rules, right? Create discipline, right?
All right.
Discipline creates structure.
Okay.
And approval
All
is
of this.
intimacy.
All of this has to be in place. So basically, back from time, all of these have levels of involvement. And so in talking about the history of this lifestyle,
Okay.
right, is from when the internet first came up, right? That was what blew up the area of master slave, dom sub, trust and no trust. He now put it into play. You see now, because that was the first time. That was the first time when you now have, when it becomes a master slave, what does it mean? What does it constitute? Before then, it wasn't. It came about in the chat room in the early 90s.
See, and that's what I thought. I initially felt that all this was built upon people that had these desires or this secret lives, and they had a way of communicating, whether it was the chat rooms or the newspaper or through friends, and that's how it kept building and building, or that's how they got to where they wanted to be or find that person, only because they were doing all this conversation to build a forum or an area where they could go and be open about it.
No. Again, true. It all depends. It all depends on which area. Remember, we are talking about BDSM.
Right.
Yeah. There are other aspects we'll be talking about in the future. There's BDSM, there's leather, and there's Gorian, too.
Okay.
There's BDSM, there's Gorian, there's leather.
Wow.
Yes. You see, the problem with BDSM is that many people sexualize BDSM. There are many people that are coming from normal vanilla world, they come to BDSM, oh wow, good about sex. That is where my class is bringing people to basics to say, in BDSM, there's a history.
Wow.
You need to learn the history.
Wow.
If you can learn the history, you'll be ready.
All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Mac. We're on Nightlife 24/7. My girl Sweets here. And my best friend for over 10 years that I just found out, Sir Licks, and we're talking about BDSM. We're talking right now about the different levels. We're talking about the culture, the terminology. We're talking about trust. I know there's not enough time in the show, but you know the show's going to be closing out in a minute. But I promise you, we're going to be getting back with my man here to talk some more about it on Friday that's coming up. So we're going to be closing out the show in a few minutes. But I promise you that Sir Licks will be on the next show on Friday to give you a little bit more of what entails in BDSM. Right now, we're just talking about the culture, how it developed, the terminology, the trust, how long it takes to get to a certain level, the different levels and cultures and names within that factor. Quick question there for you, Sir Licks. Over the years, I met women who were looking for that type of lifestyle, and I even had friends while I was in the swinging world that would say, hey, this girl is looking for an alpha male. And I'm an alpha male. I've always been told that everyone says right off the bat, you're just too alpha, blah, blah, blah. But that level is not considered in BDSM, is it? Because they would send a girl to me or a woman to me who wanted an alpha male to be in control of them.
Yeah, because you and I went through this a lot of times. You would call me and say, hey, man,
right.
I met this girl that wants to be on. You see, the point, there's a difference between being an alpha male in the vanilla world and being a dominant in BDSM world.
So they're not the same.
Right.
That's what I wanted to know.
From
That's what I wanted.
a woman's point of view. Just saying here. For me, the young ladies that I've been around and those that I've coached, an alpha male and a vanilla relationship is still a respectable relationship, which takes away the thinking aspect of a woman. Therefore, she has more brain space to please you because she doesn't have to think of anything. She doesn't have to keep time. She doesn't have to keep dates. She doesn't have to keep deadlines because you are in charge of all of those things. You tell her what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what else needs to be done. Therefore, her only responsibility is taking care of you and treating you because you're taking over all the responsibilities of her thinking. That is what we consider an alpha male. And it's nothing negative. It's not about power. It's about, because you're doing things for me, keeping me in line, keeping me in order, I can reward you with all of myself because you've earned it. Unlike a regular vanilla relationship, the whole 50-50 shit,
right?
Bullshit. That's bullshit. Because if it's 50-50, I still have to think of stuff. I still have to plan things. I still have to do things. Because if you don't come up short, if you come up short on your end, then I can take some of me away from you.
Gotcha.
But in the BDSM, if you're a dom, depends on what your contract entails, then I still might have a couple options here in reference to choices, opinions, and things of that nature. But when it comes to our actual connection and us getting together, you're in charge. But when we're not together, I still have my life.
All right, guys. I know the show's finna close out in a little bit here. Now, I'm definitely going to ask my boy, Sir Licks, to come back on Friday's show and give us a little bit more about BDSM. And we're going to ask him also to make sure that he sends us his information, and we'll put it up on our website, or we'll get his website or contact information for you that are interested so you can contact him, maybe get some training, get some better understanding. Hell, you may have just found your top, your dom. I don't know, but you may have found him right here sitting talking with us. That being said, I'm Matt.
And this is Sweets. Thank you guys for tuning in to Nightlife 24/7.
And my boy, Sir Licks, we look forward to coming back, man. We look forward to coming back. Well, we are definitely going to close out the show, and we will see you on Friday.
Make sure you check out Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Nightlife 24/7. Spell out the number 7.
We out.
We at Nightlife 24/7 appreciate you, our listeners, who has an open mind and heart and are able to listen, learn, and discuss those issues that affect you and your partner.
By discussing these issues, we hope to keep the lines of communication open to help inform you, our listeners, and our community. It's on your mind, so let's talk about it on Nightlife 24/7.